Hello and thank you for watching this training tutorial on how to check clients into a housing bed or unit in ClientTrack HMIS. I'm Megan Starnes, your HMIS training coordinator. Today in this video, we'll use a test client to show how to check the client into a bed or a unit for your housing program once they have a housing move-in date. So on our client's dashboard, first thing we're going to do is record the housing move-in date for the client. So I am on the dashboard. I'm going to record this housing move-in date using an update assessment. And here on the very first page of the update assessment is where I will enter the housing move-in date. Now I do need to continue with this entire update assessment. Of course, you can use the default last assessment button to get the most up-to-date information on the client's record and then make any changes that you need to as necessary as you do this assessment with your client. If your client does have a family member, please continue the assessment and do the update assessment for the family member as well. And click through the entire workflow until you get to the button that says Finish, Close the Workflow. Now from the client's dashboard, to check them into a bed, I'm going to navigate to my housing workspace. I'll click on the Workspace button, then scroll over to the Housing workspace. And you'll see all these facilities because I am in the training site, but of course you will only have access to the facilities that are at your organization or agency. Find the appropriate facility for the enrollment that your client has. Click on that facility. Here we can see this facility is set up in units, so each of these individual units can have a client checked into them. This might be a scattered site. I will right-click on the unit and choose New Check-in to check my client in. Now a lot of the required fields automatically populate, but I will need to search for my client and then choose the enrollment that that client has in my program. So you cannot check a client into a site, a unit, or a bed without the enrollment for that program already being recorded for your client. Notice that the check-in date is defaulted to today. So you do want the check-in date to match the housing move-in date. If the housing move-in date is different than the day that you're recording this check-in in the system, you will need to change the check-in date to match the housing move-in date that you have already recorded for your client. Of course, I will check all of the required fields to make sure that they were populated correctly, make sure that I haven't made an error in the unit that I'm selecting for my client or the facility, and click Save. Now I can hover over the unit and see that the capacity has changed and that I now see my client's information there. Let's take a look at what this would look like if you have a single site facility with several beds that you're checking clients into. So here I'll click on the facility. Next I'll need to select the room in the facility. And when I open the room, I can see that there are several beds available visually here in the system. The number underneath the bed shows the capacity for that bed, so all of these beds have a capacity of 1. To check my client into that bed, I will right-click on the bed and choose New Check-in. And from here, the process is exactly the same as we just saw for the units. You will need to search for your client and choose their active enrollment in your program, and then confirm the rest of the required fields to make sure that they were completed correctly, that you have selected the correct bed and room that you intended to select for your client, and then click Save. Now your client is checked into their unit or bed for your housing program. And that will conclude our tutorial. Thank you for watching and for doing your part to help us end homelessness in Dallas and Collin counties.